Today I'm answering one of your art questions about entering art competitions. Hi, I'm Lisa, the artist behind Lachri Fine Art. Tanya writes, my question is whether or not I should be entering art shows. It seems like I end up spending a lot of money on entry fees, but never place. I have a realistic style and focus on wildlife as my subject matter. I am accepted into the shows, but the judges tend to always pick still life, folk art, or impressionistic work that is lacking in details. I always submit art that follows the theme of the show. Wildlife shows are scarce where I live, and I'm trying to build my artistic resume. It would be nice if I actually placed in one of these shows so that I could show people my art is worthy. I'm just concerned about entering lots of shows, but never placing in the show will make people wonder why I never win a ribbon. Okay, there's so many factors here. I'll start by telling you my experience. It's pretty much what you're seeing here. The abstract, looser styles, this sort of thing seem to place better and win more in a lot of the competitions that I was watching. And it's not just an issue of me going, I think my work's better than it really is, and I'm, bitter because I'm not winning. It was more an issue of, I would see artists whose work was just amazing, the technical skill and the realism, beautifully done. So many times in these competitions that I was a part of, I saw where the judges really only liked the looser or abstract pieces. I found entering art competitions like this was very much like entering dog shows. Know who your judge is. It wouldn't make sense for me, as some of you guys may know, I used to show Studio Assistants 1 and 2. It was just something fun we did. It wouldn't make sense for me to show Studio Assistant number 1 under a judge who only liked red dogs or only wanted dogs with flat top lines, which isn't correct for the breed, but sometimes that's what a judge is looking for. Don't get me started. Point is, it would not make any sense for me to give that judge my entry fee, knowing that my dog was not the style of Italian Greyhound that they liked. And this really carries over to the art world. It's going to be the same thing. If you know a judge in a competition, if your goal in entering these competitions is that you really want to win, that you're not just doing it for fun or for, the exposure to maybe sell a painting, if it's because you want to win, then don't enter under a judge who historically has always awarded abstract or always awarded impressionism. That wouldn't make sense if you're painting realistic wildlife. The one show years ago when I used to enter competitions, the one show that I did well in and actually placed was by a judge who also painted in realism. Coincidence? Probably not. And there's more to that. There's so much to do with judging, and that's probably something I'll talk about more in another video. Some judges are looking for an emotional response to the painting. Some judges are looking for technical skills. Some judges prefer the high contrast. It can be anything. Art is so subjective. It doesn't mean that judge is wrong. It just means that's what they prefer. And so again, if you go back, if it's a judge that really likes abstract, then you're wasting your time and entry fee. If your goal to enter these shows is to win, then that's going to be a waste for you. Now here's the next thing. Now please keep in mind, I've not seen your work, and this is in no way a judgment on you or what you're creating. I'm just mentioning this in general. Most artists, when we get started, it is really common for us to start off with realism, and we tend to keep our work very tight, try to get all of the details, and our details in the background are just as detailed as what's in the foreground. We don't really have an understanding about what lines should be softened, what lines should be strong, where we should have higher contrast, what should be softened out. We don't understand a lot of the different concepts, whether it be perspective or just composition and balance in general. When we're new, this is something that we're still learning. It's something we're probably always going to be learning, but it's especially true when we're new. A lot of artists who have been painting for a very long time will move into a looser style where they're focusing more on their contrast, their composition, on the things that really are more important than detail. I know somebody's going to argue with me, no, detail is the most important. Usually, most people will not agree with that. Most people are going to care more about your composition, about your lighting, about your contrast, about your depth, and all of these things that are harder to do. So most of the artists that you're seeing in these shows who are painting looser have probably been painting for a lot longer than the newer artists. And again, a lot of these newer artists are sticking with the realism. So while it's not that the realism is bad, it's just that those artists don't have a complete grasp of some of the concepts that the judges are looking for. So it's not even always that they don't like the realism as much or the tighter detail as much as they do the looser style. It's that those artists with the looser style have mastered some of these techniques that those working in realism with the tighter lines and details are still still working on. That is not always the case, but it does happen a lot. And it's why I think so often in these shows, you will see the realism not place as well as some of the looser styles do. It's just that the realism so often is one of the least refined because you've got more beginning artists working than that in these shows. And this definitely, like I said, not always the case. There have been plenty of shows that I've been to and pieces that made no sense to me whatsoever were what the judge chose. Didn't have great contrast, didn't have great design, or not what I considered great design. But again, going back to art, it's all subjective. Just because it's not my taste doesn't mean that it's bad art. It just means that it's different. Now, if you're entering these shows and it's something that you're having fun with, don't worry about people judging you negatively, thinking, oh, you entered all these shows, but you didn't win. You must not be very good. That's really not how it works with art. Winning that 50-cent ribbon, it's an added bonus. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, it looks nice on your resume, but being able to say, I was in this show, I was in this show, I was in this show, you can say all of that. You don't have to say, I was in this show, but I didn't win. I was in this show, but I didn't win. I was in this show, but I didn't win. Leave out the but I didn't win anything part. The fact that you participated looks good on your resume. But again, only if you're enjoying the experience. If you're not enjoying it, you're not selling anything, not that big of a deal. One of the last shows that I was a part of before I moved to Texas, one of my paintings sold for far more than any other painting at that show. For this specific show, I knew I wasn't going to win anything. My style was not what the judges liked. I was working in surrealism. Surrealism, that seems to have a really hard time placing in a lot of the shows that I was a part of. But my artwork sold for so much more than any other art, including the artwork that was awarded. So at the end, what's more important, making a big sale or having that 50-cent ribbon? I'll take the sale. That 50-cent ribbon does not necessarily determine whether or not your work is of value. It just says whether or not that judge liked it. It's still fun to be a part of. It is fun to win ribbons. I'm not saying that there's anything bad or wrong with being a part of these competitions, but if it is starting to bring you down and you're like, oh, I don't want to bother anymore, then stop doing them for a while. Maybe keep painting. If you're a newer artist and you're still refining your skills, back off for a few years and refine your skills and then go back and try these shows and see if you do any better. But my biggest piece of advice is don't go with the intention to win, because it's going to be disappointing more often than not. I mean, you've got hundreds of entries in most of these shows. A handful of people are going to win a ribbon. That's a whole lot of disappointment if everyone expected to win. I have a frequently asked questions page over on my website. If you cannot find the answer to your art question there is a place where you can submit your own question to be featured in one of these videos. I'll have a link pop up here so you can check that out. Thanks for watching. If you're new to my channel, I have new video critiques every Tuesday where I'm critiquing your original paintings or drawings, my own speed paintings, drawings, and tutorials every Wednesday, art Q&As every Thursday, and artist vlogs every weekend. So if you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. And you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+. All of those social media sites are linked below in the video description where you can keep up with news, my newest work, and see real-time clips of whatever it is I'm currently working on. I'll see you guys in a couple of days.